Hello YouTube and welcome back. In this video we're going to be talking about a spring tester. Alright, let's get into a little quick class. Specifically this brand spring tester, but any type of spring tester this will work. Here's a spring tester that I bought off of eBay, and this is the same as that spring tester there. And if you notice the gauge up there, if I squeeze, see how the gauge is moving? So there's a hydraulic little piston in here. You squeeze it, hydraulic pressure moves the gauge. That tells you how much pounds of pressure you have. All right, but if you notice when I squeeze it, this moves, right? So if this is moving when you squeeze it, and the way you use one of these is you put a spring on it and you put it on a press. So you go over to a press or a vise. Just put it in a vise, squeeze it. You can use a C-clamp, and you have a nice spring tester that fits in your pocket if you got big pockets. So, but essentially what you're doing is you're squeezing it to your height down. Let me bring you a little closer, and then we'll talk about the spring tester. Come on. All right, we brought you a little closer. You already know how I look like. So here's the spring tester. And these are available, like I said, eBay is a perfect place to buy them. But you see them a lot in the swap meets. You see them at auctions. Not a bad thing to get. So what is the first thing we want to know? One of the quick tips, this bottom plate moves. This bottom plate moves. If you watch the gauge, it moves. I showed you how on this I can squeeze it and there's the pressure right there. Well, I'm squeezing it. So it's moving down to make the pressure. Correct? So this is the same thing. Imagine this inside of here. This is pushing down, and that gets your spring pressure. So one of the common things that I see a lot of people making, if you set it up at 1/900, let's say that's where your install height, that's what you're going for. I see a lot of people doing this. Putting this right here. My hand's in the way. Got a clamp up here on top, and I may need to just go up just slightly just to show. There's a clamp up here on top. Maybe I'll just back up a hair. So there's a locking clamp up here on top. So they got a little clamp up here on top, and I see a lot of people doing this. So there's 1/900. So this is what I see everybody doing. They go down here and they go to 1/900. There I am at 1/900. They lock this top, move my hand out of the way, at 1/900. And then they go over here and they put your spring in here and they go down to 1/900. Okay, well, this is not 1/900 because the bottom moved. So as you're pressing down, the bottom moved down. That's why there's a little slot up there. So let's see if we can't figure out what it is with a spring in it. All the way down to our lock. And now we're at 1/913, 1/914. So you see how it moved down about 13 thousandths, 13 or 14 thousandths, that it moved down just at 1/900. If you're going to open pressure and you're going to 300 pounds, it's going to move even more. So that's why there's a slot up here, because the ruler stays stationary at 0, and as it goes down, the slot moves with it. So you're always measuring off the bottom. So you can't measure static with no spring in it. That's the first thing I see a lot of people doing, is they're setting this up with no spring in it. And that's the first no-no. Okay, the next no-no, not compensating for that little step in the retainer. So right off the bat, when we squeeze it back down, we're going to get more spring pressure because we're pushing in the inner spring that far down also. So you want to compensate for that. So what I like to do is I'll use that little slot that's right in there from where the coil stops. There's a little bitty spot right in there. I like to bring that over, slide it over to the side. Go ahead and put this up to there. I take my top here. All right, I have this top thing up here on top. It's my stop. Bring it down and just snug it right now. I still want it to move. I still want it to slide, but I don't want it to just drop down when I let go. And this is what I mean. See how it just moves? It stays alone. So snug it so that it will stay put wherever it happens to be. Okay, bring this in here. We're going to bring it right there. We're going to bring this down to 1/900. Let's go to 1/900 right there. Now I can lock this in right here, and it's set. I can go to my stop every time. 1-900, 1-900 every time. And if I'm testing a bunch of springs, it's that simple. It's already set. It's set at 1-900, and I can test all these springs. So if you're doing a regular head and you're going to whatever height you're going to for 85 pounds on a stock head, once you lock this, now you can test all 16 springs really quickly. So that's what your stop and your lock is there. What I've done is I've added this little dial indicator over to the side. I took a piece off of a bicycle handles, something from the scrapyard, put a dial indicator, put a welding rod up here, and then I can actually have a dial indicator on here, and it makes it much easier. What I like to do is once I get this thing set at 1-900, I know I'm 1-900, I'm actually past the 900 by 4,000, so I probably did this really quick. Because if it's slightly angled, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm within 4,000s. That's good for what I'm doing. Down here on this little red dial that you have right here, bring you in a little closer. We have this little red dial. All it is you put it at 0. And when you get to the stopping point, it stays there. So that you don't have to sit there and figure this out by looking, you're in the wrong angle. So this is just a little telltale. It's kind of like a little on your tachometer that's going to tell you what the highest RPM was the last time. A lot of times I'll move this out of the way and I don't even use it. I just go there and I look. Now, we know that at 1-900, we're supposed to be at 115 pounds, 112 pounds actually by comp specs, 112 pounds at 1-900. Okay, you see these specs that we got here? I don't know if it's focused or not, but we want 112 at 1-900. So that's what the comp specs is saying that's on the book. Okay, well, we already know at 1-900, because of that inner lip, what do we actually have? So we actually have 125 pounds, almost 130 pounds. We have 130 pounds is what that extra little lip there said. When you check it at 1-900 without a retainer, they're checking exactly at 115, 112, 115 without the retainer. Okay, so there we know that our problem is we can't set it up at 1-900 because we have this inner step. I've machined the inner step off the cylinder head, so what do we need to do? It's real simple. Comp told me that I need 112 pounds. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to go ahead and just use this mic because it's easier to read. Eventually, I'm going to take one of these. I'm going to buy it on eBay, and I'm going to mount this sucker here, and I'm going to have this indicator as well here. But however you do it, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to bring this down. Let's go ahead and take our clamp up here on top. Leave it a little snug. You probably didn't see that, and you probably wonder, what are you talking about? You keep moving. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take this clamp here, drop it down and just snug it. I'm going to take this. I'm going to put it like this. And I'm not even going to look at any of this. I'm going to look at my 112 pounds. 100, 5, 10, 15, good. Anywhere from 112 to 15 is real hard on this indicator, but there I am there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this in now. I'm going to bring this now over to there. Let's put this here. Let's just go ahead and bring this down. And what I found that at 1.950, it's actually 50 thousandths higher up, I'm getting the spring pressure I want. So we see here 1.950. If you can read that dial indicator there, I have this dial indicator up over here. At this point, I'll actually even put the spring right in the center. I just had it off so that I could use a dial indicator, but that dial indicator is calibrated the same way. And to get the spring pressure that comp says I need to have, I need to actually set the spring up at 1.950. So not 1.900. 1900 on the box is just telling you what to test the spring at with no retainer. So you can't set the spring up at 1900. Like I said, at 1900, we're at 130 pounds. So at 1950, we're at where we want to be. I'm like looking at this, we're at 115 pounds. Comp wants 112. I will take that. We also want us to cycle the spring a few times just to get it to seat in. And you're going to lose a few pounds on a brand new set of springs. So if you're 5 or 10 pounds over, don't be alarmed. I'd rather have that than under because it's going to lose a little bit. So you can't hit the number right on the money unless you spend tons of time. But if you're within 5 or 10 pounds plus, you're good to go. So now you know that you have to have a spring in here. You have to have a spring in here. Now you bought one of these and you don't really know much about it. It's not going to have this dial indicator here or this little bracket. I just fabbed that up myself to make things easier. It is going to have this little ruler with it. Okay, so what do? You buy a comp 5316. There's a part number. It's a comp calibration spring. Okay, so what's going to come in this package is going to come a calibration spring and a calibration spring chart. So it says that at 1,700, we need 76.3 pounds. At 1,400, 141.3 pounds. These are handwritten because they're testing each spring individually, and it's been calibrated on a digital tester. So now we know if I want to test my tester, I want to go ahead and bring this down, and I want to set it up at 1,700, let's just say, and I should have 76.3 pounds. So let's go ahead and set up 1,700. 1,700, there we are. In this instance, I could use this, but I have my lockup on top that I just set, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to go ahead and just, what I'm doing, I'm rocking it to get the tightest spot. Bam, right there. Lock that in. Now I can push this down and there's our spring pressure. So we need 76.3. Let me bring you in real close and you can see what I'm talking about. What am I talking about? And can you see that right there? So we're good to go. So I know that I'm on the money. If you have a digital spring tester, that's badass. That's what's done on a digital spring tester. I'm good to go. I'm just over 175, so 176.3. Now we can check it at 1,400 as well. But that's how you check your spring tester. So there we go. Like I said, on this one, I could do the exact same thing on this one. Put this down there. There's a little spot here I can grab. I can put it on a vise, squeeze this, set it at 1,700, and I could check the calibration of this one. You could probably also make one of these if y'all were really, you know, all it is a piston and hydraulic pressure. But all that being said, you need a calibration spring. So if you go buy one of these testers, any kind of tester, go ahead and go to comp and get you this calibration. Remember, it's 5316. Is the part number, and that's going to get you your calibration spring, and you could test your calibration. Also, if you needed to change stuff, if this wasn't as zeroed in, right here in the bottom, right here is a little, see that? It's a little handle there, and I don't know if y'all can see it or not, but I can turn the gauge and calibrate it if I'm off. See right here? So I could go ahead, if I was off on my top spring, I don't care what zero is. All I care about is the open pressure at the open number. So this one happens to be, this is an old one. It's one of the best ones you can buy. And I can set it right there at zero. And you saw it's right on the money. So, all right, so all spring testers can be tested with the calibration spring. And I think everybody needs to have a calibration spring in their shop. All right, I think this pretty much gets you a little quick insight on how to use a spring tester correctly. Somebody had asked, and I'm going to go ahead and add it onto this one, is on measuring the cylinder head for the spring pressure. Too far? Okay, so somebody's asked me about using this mic. This mic is awesome. It goes in there, it goes in place of the spring. You just spin it, and that tells you what height you have. But what if you didn't want to buy, that's what somebody asked, that mic is awesome, but I'm not going to go buy that mic for a one-time use, and I'm with you. For years, I didn't have this mic. Now, I love it to death. You see how old it is? If you need one, contact Shop Mom. This is this is nice. But if you don't have one, how could you do it at home without one? So I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to put your retainer on. You're going to put your keepers on. One thing to be aware of is the spring mic puts pressure evenly on the retainer, so it straightens itself right out. I could get this retainer and I could walk the retainer. I don't know if you can see it. I'm kind of exaggerating it, but you see how I can move it a little bit? So one of the keys is to pull up nice and flat so that it's nice and flat. And when you're micing it, that you just don't lift up on one side. You can actually get a higher reading than what you actually have. The next thing, you need to get you some of these. I know you're going to hear it, eBay. These are snap gauges. Contact Shop Mom. Snap gauge, all that means is that when you push it all the way in and you lock it, it stays put. What I don't like to do is turn this here and let them snap out, because you'll actually break that little finger, will be gone. So I've seen a lot of people do it. I tell everybody in my shop, please don't do that, because I like these. I had it for a long time. They make them in a set with all different sizes. Okay, so when you release this, release the hounds, it opens. So I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it right underneath the retainer, all the way up. See that? So I start off intentionally crooked a little bit. I let it go out. That way when I put it in and go straight, it'll get tight and it'll push it right in there. Then when it's there, I want to go ahead and tighten it. Once this is tightened, you can move this out. It doesn't hurt to go in there and just check to make sure that, yes, in fact, you are doing it correctly, you know. So what do? I go crooked, I straighten out till it gets nice and snug. That's the tightest spot. There it is, nice and straight. Now you have this snap gauge, and this is all you do, is you mic it. So all you gotta have to do is mic it, that's it. So it's just a comparator, but basically, you're just sticking it in the spot, you're releasing it, it expands all the way out, you lock it, you come back and mic it. So there you go. You can check your spring heights using a snap gauge, just like that. It's up there all by itself because it's nice and snug. That's what I want. Or you can use one of these mics, which is a shit, but if you don't, use the language, if you don't do a lot of them, then I guess buying one of these just for one-time use probably isn't the thing to do. What I like to say, start a club, get your buds in a club, get 4 or 5 guys, you're doing Miatas, you're doing Fords, whatever you're doing, you're like-minded. Now you can just buy one tool for everybody and everybody can share. So, but a snap gauge is really inexpensive, and it works excellent. And if you buy the set, you can use them for everything. Measuring the inside of this hole right here. They even make it, I have one, I can bring it, that's a 4-inch bore. So I can put it in a bore and let it go out, get it snug, come back and mic it. And all you're doing is you're transferring it over to a mic. So it's not a micrometer per se, it's a snap gauge. And then you're coming over and you're measuring it, and that's giving you what you want there. Remember, we want 1/900, we're at 1.962. So what am I gonna need? I'm gonna need a 15,000 shim. They don't make shims in ones, they make them in the 15s, 30s, and 60s. So that's what I'm doing. I'm checking the height, and then I'm adding a shim if I got to get that down to 1.950, which is what we want, not the 1.900. We want 1.950. All right. We've also learned about offset keepers. If I wanted to go higher up and I don't want to cut the spring pad, I could put an offset keeper. The black ones are the straight zeros, and the gold ones are the 50 plus. So all it is that inner little keyway right in there that grabs the lock right there. This is a lock, and it grabs in there. It's moved further down to move the retainer further up. So they make these in plus 50s or minus 50s. So we're going to have standard, plus 50 or minus 50. If I want to get 50,000 shorter and not put a lot of shims, I can use an offset keeper. If I want to get higher and I don't want to machine the spring pad, I put an offset keeper going up. All right, I hope it's been helpful, informative. A little more, somebody wanted to know just how to use a spring tester, and that's actually was a very good suggestion for a video. So it was a good suggestion for a video. I actually did a video that someone suggested. You know, it's a simple video, but it's how to use a spring tester, and it's giving you the reasons why people make mistakes because of the pad at the bottom, and they're not getting a calibration spring. Get a calibration spring and just throw it on there and play with it. So you can actually, until you can manipulate the spring tester, until you can use a spring tester and you're getting the exact number, man, just sit there and play with it until you start learning the spring tester. It has a bunch of, like my uncle would say, tiene las movidas. It's like a girl. They got their like a woman. They got their ways. So you want to learn their ways and treat them right, and you'll get the correct answers out of them. You treat them wrong, you're not going to get anything out of them. But that's your fault for not treating women right. But okay, that's somewhere else, not either here nor there. But I better get out there and get this head done. I hope it's been informative. If nothing else, entertaining, educational, any of the E's. We'll see you on the next one, because I got to get these heads on that motor.